In Palestine, health authorities at the British organization Save the Children denounced the death of 2 children by dehydration and malnutrition in Kamal Adwan Hospital. In Venezuela, political organizations and social sectors signed the proposal for a national agreement on general principles, schedule and guarantees for the 2024 presidential elections. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen called for the purchase of weapons and ammunition with Russian frozen assets. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Wednesday, the Ministry of Health of Gaza and the British organization Save the Children denounced the death of 2 children by dehydration and malnutrition in the hospital Kamal Adwan in the north of Gaza. Precisely since January 23rd, the government of Israel has prevented the access of humanitarian aid to Gaza, despite the claims of the international community. In this regard, Jason Lee, director of the organization Save the Children for the occupied territories, assured that the world is in the presence of a massive slaughter of children in slow motion. In this context, World Health Organizations highlighted that according to official data, more than 10 children per day on average have lost one or both of their legs or arms in Gaza since Israel began its aggression on October 7th. In this sense, it assured that amputations in children are done without anesthetics and antibiotics due to Israel's total blockade. Egypt's government announced the launch of humanitarian aid to Gaza Strip from planes of its air forces. According to local media, Cairo is conducting an operation to provide aid, shelter and medical treatment to the thousands of Palestinians displaced by Israel's aggression in the Gaza Strip. The information highlights that the government of Egypt is preparing to establish a field hospital inside the Gaza Strip, as well as a 3rd refugee camp to care for Gazans who are victims of the Israeli violence. The Gaza Strip has been experiencing a shortage of food and medical supplies since the beginning of Tel Aviv's bombardments and ground incursions, which have left more than 29,000 dead. Syrian ambassador to the United Nations, Qusay al-Dahak, denounced that the economic blockade blocks humanitarian assistance and the return of refugees. The official pointed out that the illegal presence of foreign forces, the plundering of Syria's wealth, and the constant Israeli aggressions against its territory hindered the arrival of assistance. Al-Dahak also condemned the silence on the part of the international community in the face of the plundering by U.S.-associated terrorists. The senior official demanded the United Nations to implement a mechanism to ensure that support reaches civilians in northeastern Syria. On Tuesday, the United Nations launched an appeal for $674 million in donations to support a plan designed to provide humanitarian aid to Haiti due to the current situation of the Caribbean country that has been severely affected by gun violence and one of the world's most devastating food crises. The plan aims to meet the need of 3.6 million people, requiring the requested number in a context of underfunding of humanitarian operations. The report describes the multiplication of attacks on hospitals, schools and places of worship, showing in 2023 the worst crime statistics of the last 5 years. Murders, rapes and kidnappings have increased exponentially. In regard of food guarantees, according to the United Nations, 45% of the population is food insecure in Haiti. The violence and famine have collapsed the capacity of the state. For this reason, the United Nations will assist in areas such as food, health, education and housing, but is still unable to provide lasting solutions. The Haitian Platform for the Defense of Alternative Development encourages social forces to file a complaint with the World Trade Organization following the results of a study revealing the high risk of cancer and other diseases in Haiti due to contaminated rice imported from the United States. The platform recommends a criminal prosecution of the American state and rice producers for the illegal dumping, with emphasis on the laws regulating the products on the market. This call to legal action takes place after the publishing of a study made by the University of Michigan in partnership with the Community Agricultural Organization of Haiti, in which experts determined that rice exported to Haiti, mainly from the United States of America, contains unhealthy levels of arsenic and cadmium, which can increase the risk of various cancers, heart diseases, diabetes, and other health conditions. On Wednesday, in the United States, local media reported that authorities ordered the evacuation of a nuclear weapons facility due to the threat of a wildfire in Texas. In this regard, Laef Pendergraft, spokesman for the production office of the National Nuclear Security Administration, stated that the evacuation of the main U.S. nuclear weapons facility is due to high winds, dry grass, and unusually warm temperatures. On the other hand, he added they have a well-equipped fire department that has been trained for these scenarios. It is worth noting that Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration for 60 counties since the fire broke out on Monday that has so far scorched more than 1,000 square kilometers.
Currently, we are responding to the plant, but there is no fire on site or on our boundary. We have evacuated our personnel, non-essential personnel, from the site, just in abundance of caution, but we do have a well-equipped fire department that has trained for these scenarios, that is on site, watching and ready should any kind of real emergency arise on the plant site. We also have a fully staffed emergency response organization who has activated. We are monitoring the scene, and we are continuing and will continue on through the night to ensure that the Pantex plant is protected and safe.
Mexico's National Center for Prevention of Disasters reported that in the last 24 hours, the Popocatépetl volcano recorded 77 exhalations, 952 minutes of tremor, and volcanotectonic earthquake. However, the volcanic alert is yet at phase 2. According to the National Disaster Center, after the increase in activity in May and June 2023, since July there have been several episodes of high-frequency tremor of low to very low amplitude associated with the continuous emissions of ash, sporadic exhalations, and low-intensity explosions, which have generated columns of up to 2 kilometers in height. Several municipalities reported light ash falling during the day, and the ash spewed by the volcano forced the cancellation of 22 flights at the Mexico City airport. It was reported that the yellow alert phase 2 level does not represent a risk to the population. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Venezuela, political organizations and social sectors signed the proposal for a national agreement on general principles, timetable, and application of warranties for the 2024 presidential election. This Wednesday, in declarations to the press, the President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, informed that the space for dialogue for the signing of the electoral calendar proposal included 9 rounds of work and more than 150 meetings, in which more than 500 proposals were generated, grouped in 3 fundamental aspects of the electoral calendar. Rodriguez pointed out that the legislative proposal includes all the dates of the political factors of the country. He also stated that the document will be submitted to the National Electoral Council so that they will be the ones to decide on this matter. In Bolivia, the Vice Minister of Transportation, Israel Ticona, died tragically on Tuesday night in a traffic accident when he was on his way to attend the demands of transporters who were blocking the Cuatro Cañadas region in Santa Cruz. Visibly distressed by the situation, Minister Edgar Montano was in charge of confirming the event. The incident occurred while the politician was driving a vehicle to the region of Cuatro Cañadas, Santa Cruz, to engage in dialogue with the drivers who had started a road blockade. Two of his companions, Tupac Valda and the driver flanking Terceros, were injured and are in serious condition in a hospital. The authorities reported that it was a collision with a truck. In addition, they assured that they are conducting an investigation to determine the causes of the accident and to be able to provide further details. Regarding this last news, the President of Bolivia, Luis Arce, wrote on his X platform account, "We receive with deep sadness the news of the death of our brother, Vice Minister of Transportation, Israel Ticona, who lost his life in a tragic traffic accident when he went to Cuatro Cañadas to solve the blockade on the road to La Chiquitania. We send our heartfelt condolences to his family and loved ones at this difficult time." In Argentina this Wednesday, social organizations called for a series of demonstrations against hunger in different parts of the country. Among the activities planned in the capital city is scheduled the gathering at Buenos Aires Obelisk. Also, it's prepared an open radio and a popular lounge with workers of the National Institute of Statistics and Censuses, while they will unveil their next plan of struggle at a press conference. Outside the Ministry of Human Capital, the social movements denounced that food shortages have been prevalent in millions of Argentine families since Sandra Petovelo office it's not delivering the goods to supply or cover the basic needs of the vulnerable population whose poverty has increased due to the devaluation and inflation rising on the Javier Milei administration. The social organizations will continue their protests on Thursday and Friday to the Ministry of Economy, where they will demand answers to their demands. In Argentina, governors of the Patagonia region called for dialogue, understanding, and maturity from Javier Milei's administration. During a conference in the Senate, the governors also asked for humility to listen to the different sectors of the country. Ignacio Torres, governor of Chubut, Rolando Figueroa from Neuquén, Alberto Wernick of Rio Negro, Sergio Ciolotto and Claudio Vidal from La Pampa and Santa Cruz, respectively, stated that they consider the impasse settled after the judicial decision in their favor. They assured that they want to build, but they remain on alert. However, they recalled that the policy failed, which is why justice had to come to their aid.
If the government has enough humility to listen to the productive regions, believe me, that Argentina will move forward once and for all.
For his part, Claudio Vidal, governor of the province of Santa Cruz, asked for respect from the national government and regretted that the justice system had to come to the rescue in the face of a new political failure.
In particular, it seems to me a little sad that what was not resolved by political immaturity is now being resolved by justice. The time has come to seek consensus, to work together, to work as a team. The nation, the province, and the municipalities, we have to accompany this government. I personally want this government to do well, but there has to be respect.
On Wednesday in Ecuador, local media highlighted that speculation is evident in several products and services whose prices have already increased since the announcement of President Daniel Noboa of an increase of the value-added tax to 15% starting April 1st, 2024. In this way, in spite of the fact that there are at least 2 weeks to go before the increase of the value-added tax becomes official, the prices of products such as potatoes, tomatoes, eggs, beer, soft drinks, cigarettes, among others, have increased their value. Meanwhile, in the first days of March, the law to confront the internal armed conflict will be published in the official gazette, and the president may modify this tax up to a maximum of 15%. On the other hand, final consumers denounce an increase in the prices of products of between 5 to 10 cents presents, together with a lack of price control. In Guyana, the leaders of the Caribbean community CARICOM closed on Wednesday the 46th conference after days of intense debates on the main problems of the area to outline strategies to overcome them. Apart from the heads of government of the area, the conclave was attended by representatives of countries from Africa, the Middle East, Europe, and North America to broaden contacts with the Caribbean countries and explore the potential for cooperation. The President of Brazil, Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, joined the closing day on Wednesday and also held working meetings with the Guyanese counterpart, Irfan Ali, and that of Suriname, Shan Santoki, to discuss matters of bilateral and trilateral interests. The 46th Conference of the Heads of Government of CARICOM was focused on deepening regional integration and better promoting the interests of the Caribbean in the international arena. In Cuba, experts from the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, positively evaluated Viñales in the province of Pinar del Río as a possible global geopark of the international organization. The experts pondered the geological heritage of the territory with an exceptional karst landscape and geological sites that are national and international landmarks. Helga Chulepin, geologist and member of UNESCO's Global Geoparks Council, pointed out that after the established protocol and if approved, Viñales could become the first global geopark in the Caribbean region. There are currently 195 global geoparks in 48 nations, 13 of them located in Latin America.
It would be not only the first global geopark in Cuba, but also the first global geopark in the Caribbean region, which is a very important designation in the region.
We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. On Wednesday, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, called for a new defense industry strategy to purchase weapons and ammunition with Russian frozen assets. In 2022, the European Union, the US, Japan, and Canada frozen some $300 billion in Russian central bank assets in response to the military operation launched by Moscow in Ukraine. Some $200 billion are held in Europe, mainly in the Belgian depository Euroclear. The leaders of the several Western countries repeatedly expressed their desire to confiscate the frozen Russian assets and use them for Kiev's needs. The Kremlin warned last December that if Russian assets are seized illegally, it will affect the global financial system and that there will be legal consequences and a response from Moscow.
It is time to start a conversation about using the windfall profits of frozen Russian assets to jointly purchase military equipment for Ukraine. There could be no stronger symbol and no greater use for that money than to make Ukraine and all of Europe a safer place to live.
On Wednesday, France faces a crucial vote in the Senate on the inclusion of abortion in the Constitution. Precisely the debates taking place at the Palace of Luxembourg discuss the conditions under which a woman could have recourse the voluntary interruption of pregnancy. In this sense, the text is submitted to the vote of the 348 senators who will determine the inclusion of the voluntary interruption of pregnancy in the Constitution, which has been openly rejected by members of the far right. On the other hand, women's rights associations and anti-abortion groups have intensified their efforts in recent days to convince the senators. It is worth noting that this constitutional revision is supported by 86% of French people, according to a poll in November 2022.
Cet après-midi, This afternoon, our eyes will be riveted on the Senate, our breath will be held, and I hope that we can take a deep breath at the end of the day and say to ourselves that we have enabled the French to safeguard the right that is being undermined in too many countries, even though it was taken for granted. So we're going to wait. It's a vote. A vote by default is always uncertain, but what is certain is that we are being watched. We are being watched. As far as the date of the Congress of Parliament is concerned, as you know, we already need to be sure of tonight's vote. And a lot will also depend on the vote. Yes, the Congress will or may be held next week, or at any rate convene next week, but I don't have the exact date.
On Wednesday, widespread strikes marking the anniversary of Greece's deadliest rail crash brought transport services to a standstill as tens of thousands protested. Trains, ferries, taxis, and metro came to a virtual standing still at midnight in commemoration of the collision a year ago that killed 57 people. The striking transport workers demanded justice as well as pay rises. Police said 30,000 were protesting on the streets, with more than 20,000 people demonstrating in Athens and 10,000 in the northern city of Thessaloniki. A further 1,000 or so, including victims' relatives, gathered at the site of the crash. Protesters ranging from rail and hospital workers to seafarers and school teachers joined the 24-hour walkout by Greece's largest public sector union, ADERI, which represents about 500,000 workers. An overnight attack on the offices of the Chad's internal security agency in the capital, N'Djamena, killed several people. The ruling government accused elements of an opposition party. The army was deployed around the main office of the opposition Socialist Party Without Borders. All the roads leading to the National Security Agency are blocked off. The attack came after a member of the PSF was arrested and accused of an assassination attempt against the president of the Supreme Court. Government authorities reported that the situation was now completely under control and that the perpetrators of the attack were arrested and will be prosecuted. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.